Hi, everyone. Someone asked during my last live on my other channel whether I could talk about how to decide whether something is a good product to sell. And I think I've talked about this in previous videos, but I haven't for a while. And I want to show you my process of deciding whether it's just kind of whether it's worth even selling something on any platform. So this could be on your website, on Etsy, on Goimagine, it doesn't matter. But you need to do the research based on the platform that you're going to be selling on. And I'm going to use Etsy as an example today. So let's go over and start on Google, which you might be a little surprised by, but I'll explain as we go. So here we are on Google, and this is where I would start if I'm going to try to decide whether it's even worth selling a different type of product or something new, or just if I'm thinking about making something different. Now, this is specifically for people who are making their own products, but you can kind of extrapolate these points to POD or whatever you want to sell. But if you're making your own products, you really need to know beforehand. The first thing I would have done is to do my research on how much it cost me to make that thing and how much I would need to sell it for. So the product that I'm going to use as an example is a shoe cake topper. Okay, now shoe cake toppers, and I'm thinking the high-heeled shoes that people put on women's birthday cakes. And people make those out of gum paste and they're edible. So it's fancy. And I at one point had thought about selling those on Etsy, and I went through this process and decided it was not a good fit. And I'm not to make a shoe joke, but yeah. So let's go through the process, and I'll show you how I would have decided that, because it's pretty straightforward. So to do a shoe cake topper, so to make a shoe cake topper, I would have had to charge a decent amount, like $75 for the topper itself, plus the shipping, and that would probably come to around $15, $20, just depending on, probably about, let's say 15. So the whole thing would be 90, because I would want to ship it first. I want to ship it priority. I would want to ship it quickly because these are very fragile. Okay, so keep that in mind because that's important as we're going to go into this. But shoe cake topper. So the first thing I'm going to do is come to Google, and I'm going to see whether there are Etsy results. Since I'm looking at Etsy, I'm going to look for shoe cake topper, just a very general, except I want to spell it right, just a very general search to see what comes up. And I am using my Chrome browser. So I have the Keywords Everywhere extension loaded on this browser, and it tells you the Google AdWords. This is not search volume. This is for ads. If you're running Etsy, that's the cost per click. If you're running ads for this term, it's going to cost you 13 cents for every click, and you're going to get about 390 clicks a month. So that's not search volume, but it does kind of give you an idea just relative for one product to another. How many people are searching? Is it more or less? Okay, so for the search term shoe cake topper, about 390 clicks a month. So that's 390 is the baseline. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to see, the sponsored is the ads. That's Google ads. This would be offsite ads. And does Etsy show up? Yeah, Etsy shows up with a one-star review for this person. That's not good. But they are showing up in ads. So that does mean that Etsy is advertising that. So that's one sign kind of checked off. Okay. So Etsy is showing up. They are advertising this. Okay. So that's good because it means that they think it's worth advertising. Now let's go down to popular products. Again, the same thing is showing up here. It's Etsy. And you're just looking for whatever platform you want to sell on. If you're selling on eBay, you want to look to see if eBay shows up. If you're selling on Walmart, and you can do that, then you can look to see if Walmart. But I'm looking at Etsy. This is not the type of shoe cake topper I'm thinking of. And you also have to use that reality check. Is this the same thing that you're thinking about selling? And I was thinking about selling things like this, not like this. And that could make a difference. So anyway, just keep note of that. You're going to scroll down in the organic search results. Shoe cake topper is coming up for Etsy. And if you hover over it, then this link is safe. But if you hover over, where did that pop up? Okay. And if you hover over it, the Keywords Everywhere data will show up. So this is about Etsy though. And if you hover over this data pops up, but it's for Etsy as a site. So don't pay attention to that. That's not a big deal. But it does show up in organic search and it shows up in the ads. So those are two check marks because it shows that Etsy is showing these, or it is being shown for the term shoe cake topper in Google. Now what I'm going to do is get a little more specific. See, okay, now I just clicked on the Google search bar and this suggested search came up. Okay, so this means that people are searching for this. I'm going to click on that and see what the volume is compared to shoe cake topper. 0 a month. Okay, this doesn't mean that nobody is searching for this. Somebody is searching for it because it wouldn't have popped up in the suggested searches. But it does mean that compared to, like they're saying, if you bought an ad, nobody is bidding on this. So they don't have any data because nobody is bidding on this search term. So apparently it doesn't get many clicks. They don't have the data for it. It's not something that you would even think just to advertise, but down here in the ads, Etsy is coming up. So this is just like an automated thing. But it is coming up. It does mean that, you know, it will show up. So there's a check, but as far as the search volume goes, this might not be the best keyword to target, although it is more specific and it is what I was thinking about selling. So take that in mind too. And then we have a whole bunch of videos. Okay, so videos at the top of the search results on the search engines mean that people are trying to learn how to do it, and Google knows that. So the search engines will tell you basically what the search term intent of the customers are based on what they're showing you in search results. So yeah, there's ads. Okay, but see this data that Keywords Everywhere is giving me, and this is directly, like I said, this is from the Google Ads tool, the Google AdWords tool. There's not a whole lot of searches for that as far as buying goes based on this. That would be my assumption. And the videos that show up here make me think that when people search for this term, they are looking to learn how to make it, because Google would be showing them things to buy if they were clicking on buying results. But if they search for this and then they click on a video about how to make one, Google starts showing them more videos. So we scroll down here. It is showing up here, but see, this is the keyword heel cake topper. Okay, now that's weird. I would never search for just heel cake topper. But apparently that's what Etsy has determined is the keyword that they're using on their market page. And a market page is it's just search results. And we could click through to Etsy to see that. But I'm going to go back up here and take this out and see what happens. So heel cake topper. Okay, now we're back to 70 a month. So it's a little bit more. So I guess more people, it's a shorter search. Okay, so yeah, a shorter search is going to be typed in more. Heel cake topper. I never phrase it like that personally, but apparently that might be the keyword to target. Okay. And if you go down here again, we're going to go through the same thing. Now, this is not what I would be making. This is flat, but it is showing up. Etsy as a site is showing up in the ads. Okay. And we go down here, images. Now Google is showing us images. Okay. So that's better than videos, because that means that people aren't necessarily looking to make it. Products. Okay, so if we see products, that's a shopping intent result. So that's good. Is Etsy showing up in here? This looks like it's all Amazon. That's not necessarily great, but they are showing up here. Okay, so let's click over. Okay, so basically, let me go through over here too. High heel shoe cake. Now these are other suggested searches from Keywords Everywhere, and this is why Keywords Everywhere is good to have. It's very cheap. I'm not an affiliate. I think it's like $27 a year now for just whatever type of searches you would need. So it's worth having this, but just remember that this is not search volume, this is ads, but it does give you an idea compared to each other. Okay, so remember the first one was I think shoe cake topper, and that was 390. High heel shoe cake is 880. So high heels cake topper is 480. That's better. Let's do high heels cake topper. High heel cake topper is also 480. Same difference. Okay, so high heels cake topper, 480. That's better than 390, which was shoe cake topper. It's more specific. It's what I wanted to sell. And we're going to go through the same thing. Let's see, Etsy. It is, now see, matching pink set. Okay, so that's one thing. Popular products. Okay, so they're not showing me how-to videos. That's good. This is the flat one. That's not what I'd be making, but Etsy is showing up in the products. They're showing up in products here. It's not exactly the same thing, but they're showing up. And heel cake topper, again, that's the keyword. So you have to pay attention to what Etsy is showing on the search results for what they think is related to this search. See, this is high heels cake topper. And for the last 3 terms that I've tested on Google, Etsy is showing heel cake topper for their market page. If I click through here, this is an organic search. So if somebody clicked this and bought from my shop, I would not be paying an offsite ad. So let's click on this and go over to Etsy. And see what happens is it puts that keyword in the search bar, and these are the results that come up. So what I'm going to be doing on Etsy, if I decided to sell these, and I still haven't decided whether I'm going to, I just have the boxes checked that yes, this does show up on Google. And you can also do this on Bing. You could do it on Firefox. You could do it on whatever browser you want. And just see what comes up. Make sure that Etsy is showing up on the browser, because you do want to get organic search traffic. And if Etsy is not showing up anywhere for whatever search term you're looking at, you need to find a different search term, because it could help you in the long run. All right, so heel cake topper is what Etsy is using, and what they had market pages for 3 out of the 4 searches that I looked at. So that's the keyword I'm going to be targeting on Etsy. Okay. Heel cake topper. I would never personally type it in like that, but here we go. So now we're going to look to see what is here. And are these all organic? This is a market page result. So this is what people would see when they click through from a search engine. And I do want to take a look to see, are these edible? Because that's what I'd be making. This one does not look like it's edible, and it's only $15. So that's not what I'm selling. Okay. Look and see what comes up at the top. This says this is sugar, and it's $50. Okay. Remember I said I would have to charge $90 including shipping. So that might not be a good thing. Okay. But let's go through here. This says it is gum paste. Okay. That's what I'd be using. And it costs $12 to ship to me. And I mean, that could be, this is East Coast, so it's New York. It could be 15 to 20 to ship it to California. So let's say 20. So that would only be $70. Now, could I make one of these for $70 if I'm sitting here going, oh, people are only going to charge $50? That's what it is, well, first, we're not done looking. But second, the answer is no. Okay, if I have determined already, and this is why you need to decide before you start this, how much do you need to charge? How much do you need to charge to make a profit? How much do you need to charge in order to be able to run sales every now and then? How much do you need to charge, including postage, so that you're not losing money and working for $3 an hour? Because that's what a lot of people end up doing, and you don't want to be one of those. Okay, so this is not a good result for me, because this would only be like $62 if I'm matching their prices. So that's just a piece of information that maybe this is not the right pricing for me, but this is the kind of thing that I would be selling, because this is what I'm thinking about. Okay, so let's go back to the search results and look some more. This one, this looks like it's fabric, high heel centerpiece. Let's see. Part of this looks like it doesn't look edible. Let me see. Resin shoe. Okay, so this is not edible. That's good information, because they're charging, like $49, but it's not edible. So this is not what I would be making. This is not what I'd be making. This is not what I'd be making. This one says fondant, $85. The price is better. Let's click on that. Okay. So sweet cake fetish. All right. Let's see. This says fondant high heel shoe, free shipping. Okay. So their price is $85. Including the shipping, but mine was 90. So that's okay. All right. That's close enough that that's all right. So let's actually go to this shop. Okay. And I want to see what else they sell and how much they're selling. Okay. 812 sales. That's not a lot. But she sells sugar flowers and high heel shoe cake toppers. These are niche. This is not something that people buy all the time. They're not buying them as gifts. This is a specific niche item. So I wouldn't expect like 90,000 sales. Okay. But I'm looking at her prices, and these look like the types of shoes that I would be making if that's what I wanted to make. And her prices look reasonable. Okay. So that's good. Oh, look. And I hate doing this to people, but she's left see, this is a hyperlink. She's left her sold items visible. So let's click to see what has sold. Okay. And you can tell really quickly if what you're selling is going to be viable based on what has sold already. So these are not shoes. There are shoes here. There's a custom order. There's some shoe. There's some flowers. There's ballet shoes. There's a hat. There's an animal. So she is selling a decent amount of shoes. Okay. But there's not that many sales. So this might be something that is, and like I said, these are incredibly niche. And the things that I sold, though, were incredibly niche. And you just had to have a lot of niche items in order to make up a good inventory that people bought on a regular basis. But having that, this is in the second row on a market page, that's pretty good. And it just says to me that maybe this could be a viable product, but I'm not going to sell a lot of them. Okay, so that's one thing. I'm not going to sell a lot of them, but it might be something that could work. There are a few things that could be comparable to the prices that I have set for myself. All right. So I would say that based on the amount of things here that are not edible, and the fact that some of these that are edible are so inexpensive, and the fact that the person that has the most in her shop has not sold a tremendous number of them, I would not sell these. Okay. And you might come to a different decision, but based on those factors, yes, Etsy is showing up for it in search. Okay. That number one, that could mean that there are so few of them available that they don't have that many to offer. Okay. It looks to me like this would not be a good fit for me to sell on Etsy, and based on what's going on Etsy. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great because the search volume on the outside search engines is pretty low. And again, that's not search volume, but just the numbers they're giving me were pretty low. And it's just going to be a fraction of that searching for it on Etsy. But the page on Google did lead to Etsy, so there's that. You might come to a different conclusion than I do, but that's the process that I go through. And the most important part of that is knowing how much you would have to charge before you start. Hands down, you have to know how much you would charge before you start, because if you don't, you're going to look at the prices that people are charging and say, oh, that's how much I have to charge. And that might not be enough to make your profit. So that's my process. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you later.